Hey there guys, I'm the Oldie American and today we're going to be making something to hold my camera. Two handles, I don't know what you call it, but I'll Google it and I'll put a annotation in. Alright, so I don't have much scrap wood for the thickness that I need to turn down on the lathe. So today I'm at my firewood pile and we're going to pick out a piece of wood. Now what you're looking for in a good piece of turning stock is something that's mostly straight, has good tight rings that aren't split, and something that's completely, or it could be even wet, dried out if you're going to turn it. But it will work easier on your bandsaw when you resaw it. So I'll pick out a piece of wood and I'll show you the next step. Alright, so we found our stock. So right here I have a piece of white oak, and what you see is the grain is real tight down here, and I have enough to make almost two. So, and it's already mostly square, so resawing won't be that much of a hassle. Alright guys, it is the next day. As you can see by my shirt, it's changed. Make sure you got good eye protection on. Stuff can get in your eyes and could damage your eyes. Also, when operating anything with moving parts, I wouldn't recommend wearing gloves because it can get pulled in the machine and you could be injured. You will see me with the safety glasses on, and you want to make sure that you have good ANSI approved safety glasses. Alright there guys, got my piece of wood up, and I'm sorry for the lighting. It's my workshop. I only got one light up right now. So we're out here at the bandsaw, and the blade that I got is, I know you guys are going to say, yeah, it's not a resawing blade, but I don't have one at the moment. So I'm just going to use a regular 1/4-inch blade, tighten up a little bit, and I'm going to find the flattest edge, which would be this, and just kind of cut the flattest edge. So I'll just set my throat, and we'll begin. Alright guys, there's the first cut. Almost perfectly straight. A little bit of curve. Joint will take that right out. As for these, scrap bin, firewood, or I don't know, you can use it for something. For right now, I'm putting it in a scrap bin. I have two square edges that are roughly square, so I'll use these as reference points. The next step is to run these through the joiner, make them perfectly flat, because you can see that there is a little bit of wave. And what a joiner does is it makes this completely flat. It also gets rid of saw marks and any other scuffs that are on the board. Makes it perfectly flat. So, I'll see you at the joiner. Okay guys, I'm back at the joiner. I'm just going to plane this one edge straight, just so I have a reference point for the chop saw, so I'll use to make these 90 degrees, so then I can put it on my lathe. Alright guys, one of the rules of the joiner is make sure you got something flat against the table and the fence. Make sure you got your eye protection on, and make sure your power cords are not frayed or anything. Make sure your work area is clean and you have nothing blocking your in feed or your out feed. Make sure your guards are all in place and springs are working properly to return your blade guard back to the original position. Here we go. Make sure it's up to full speed. Okay guys, I decided that I am actually going to do this side because actually it should be tight against the fence and the table and the chop saw also, and this one, this side is kind of really warped. So yeah, I will run this side through, and this side's a lot flatter. I mean wider. It's about 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches thick. So I will go a lot slower. Also, something I forgot to mention. You really don't want to do stock much bigger than this, because your fingers any closer than this is really a safety hazard. So let's get to cutting. Alright guys, so I got my wood all squared up, and next step is chop saw. We'll kind of cut the 90 degrees in the ends, maybe one in the center, and then we'll have our handles. Alright guys, over at the chop saw now. Got my piece of wood, and roughly whenever I make stuff like this, I really don't use any measurements, so I just kind of go and play with it. Just rough cut it. Cut the ends off at 90 degrees, and then take your tape measure, center off the center mark, and then cut that right down the center, just so you have two handles. And really, this is way too big for turning stock. I should cut this in half. Actually guys, I'm going to cut this in half. So I'm going to cut it off at the bandsaw right quick, and I'll see you right back. Alright guys, back at the chop saw here. I cut this just so it's square, so it's about 2 by 2 inches, or 2.5 by 2.5. Yeah, so basically with the chop saw you only need like 2 reference edges that are perfectly 90 degrees, just so you don't have any kickbacks. The rest of them, this is still rough, and this one's just soft for the bandsaw. So and also from the bandsaw, you can see how dark it is. That's from I got the wrong blade on there. It's a regular 1/4 fine cut blade when I should be using a resawing blade that's about 3/4 of an inch thick. But I don't have one on hand right at the moment, so you gotta use what you got to get the job done. But here's the difference between the wood. This is white oak, and real hard stuff. You could tell just by when I cut it. And yeah, I like using it for almost everything I use because number one, it's free, and it was a piece of firewood, and it's basically like milling down your own boards, like instead of going to the lumber mill and everything. And you get the choice cut your grain. So this is straight grain, and it's I guess you would call that a quarter sawn. And you would notice that there's no knots in it, and it's almost perfectly parallel with the grain. With you go to the hardware store or anything, they just run it through the mill, not caring what it is. They either got quarter sawn. So like say I got this piece of pine here. This is a eastern white pine I cut down, and I'm gonna make something out of it or something rustic, Anyway, back to the point. At a sawmill, they just go and they just cut this laterally, and that's where you get like you'll see your grain. So that was closer to the center of the tree, and it was flat cut, not quarter sawn. Quarter sawn is when you fan out and you get all pieces of the grain. So that's just an example. Let's get back to the project. Alright, so you want to make sure that your stock is tight against the fence, flat against the table, and hold your fingers in a C shape. And this is just basically for safety. And you'll notice that you got your no hand. Anyway, that's what they were calling it, like a book or something. Line your blade up to where you would want it. Make sure your guard's on. Then you're ready to make your cut. Now this is a bigger piece of stock, and it's real hardwood oak. So what you're going to want to do is go real slow. And if you hear it's going to start kickback, go ahead and shut it off. Alright, so hold it firmly. And you'll see that it's got some cracks in it, so I'm gonna go ahead and lop off like another 1/2 of an inch. Much cleaner. Alright guys, this is the end of part 1. Please keep watching and go on to part 2.